High Admiral Vexthor of the Arcturian Dominion stood at the observation deck of his flagship, the Eternal Dawn, watching Earth's blue sphere rotate silently against the backdrop of stars. His silver-scaled hands clasped behind his back, mandibles clicking in quiet contemplation. The humans had achieved faster-than-light travel barely 30 years ago, yet already they had colonized 3 systems. Remarkable progress, but nothing the Dominion hadn't seen before. Another primitive species reaching for the stars. He mused to his executive officer, Commander Zarelith. They always followed the same pattern. Indeed, High Admiral, Zarelith responded, her crystalline eyes reflecting the distant Earth. Though our intelligence suggests some anomalies in their development curve. Vexthor dismissed her concern with a wave of his hand. The Arcturian Dominion had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years, absorbing or eliminating any civilization that dared to challenge their supremacy. Humanity would be no different. They would either submit to Dominion rule or face extinction. The High Admiral's communication crystal pulsed, projecting the image of the Dominion's Supreme Council. 5 ancient Arcturians, their scales dulled with age, gazed at him expectantly. The humans have rejected our initial diplomatic overtures, Council Elder Karavos stated, his voice carrying the weight of millennia. Proceed with the ultimatum. Vexthor bowed his head in acknowledgement. The ultimatum was a formality, a tradition the Dominion had maintained through countless conquests. Submit or be destroyed. Simple, elegant, efficient. But deep within the Sol system, humanity had been watching, waiting, preparing. In an underground facility beneath the Mariana Trench, Admiral Sarah Chen stood before a holographic display of the Dominion fleet. 50 years of careful observation, of hiding humanity's true technological progress, had led to this moment. The Dominion's arrogance would be their undoing. Status report, she commanded, her voice steady despite the weight of what was to come. Dr. Marcus Rodriguez, head of Project Oracle, stepped forward. The quantum shield network is operational, Admiral. All 27 colony worlds are protected. The Prometheus fleet is ready for deployment. Chen nodded, studying the holographic representation of humanity's hidden armada. While the Dominion had observed Earth's modest space force of conventional ships, they remained blissfully unaware of the true extent of human military power. 3 generations of scientists and engineers had worked in absolute secrecy, developing technologies that would reshape the galaxy. They expect us to be primitive, Chen mused, using basic antimatter drives and particle weapons. They have no idea about the quantum fold drives, the dark energy cannons, the neural network AI that coordinates our fleet. The facility's AI, Araya, materialized as a shifting pattern of blue light. Admiral, the Dominion flagship is broadcasting. They're delivering their ultimatum. High Admiral Vexthor's image appeared before them, his voice dripping with condescension as he demanded Earth's immediate surrender. The terms were harsh. Complete disarmament, transfer of all colonial territories to Dominion control, and acceptance of Arcturian rule. Chen allowed herself a small smile. Araya, initiate Protocol Omega, and patch me through to the Dominion flagship. Across the Sol system, hidden quantum sensors activated. Detailed scans of every Dominion vessel were transmitted to the Prometheus fleet's tactical networks. Every weakness, every blind spot, every vulnerability was cataloged and analyzed. Vexthor's mandibles twitched in surprise as Chen's hologram appeared before him. Admiral Chen, I trust you understand the futility of resistance. Actually, High Admiral, Chen replied, her voice carrying an edge that made Vexthor's scales bristle. I was about to say the same to you. She paused, letting her words sink in. You see, we've been studying your people for half a century. We know about the genocide of the Centaurians, the enslavement of the Proxima colonies, the destruction of the Sirius Collective. Vexthor's composure slipped for a moment. How could they know about those classified operations? Humanity, Chen continued, has a long history of dealing with empires that underestimate us. We've spent 50 years preparing for this moment. This is your only warning. Leave our space, or face the consequences." Before Vexthor could respond, his tactical officer burst onto the bridge. "High Admiral, we're detecting massive energy signatures everywhere. They're decloaking. Around Earth, Mars, and throughout the asteroid belt, humanity's true fleet revealed itself. Sleek vessels of impossible design, powered by technologies the Dominion had fought centuries away from development. The Prometheus fleet, over 1,000 ships strong, had emerged from quantum space." Chen's hologram smiled coldly. "You came here expecting to find primitives, High Admiral. Instead, you found humanity at its finest, prepared, united, and absolutely unwilling to submit to tyranny. The choice is yours." Vexthor stared in horror as his tactical displays updated. The human vessels weren't just numerous. They were generations ahead of Dominion technology. His entire fleet was surrounded, outgunned, and completely at humanity's mercy. In that moment, High Admiral Vexthor of the Arcturian Dominion realized his species' greatest mistake. They had assumed that humanity's rapid progress indicated recklessness rather than capability. They had mistaken patience for weakness. And now, they would pay the price for their arrogance. The silent vanguard of humanity's true power had revealed itself, and the galaxy would never be the same. The quantum-encrypted transmission spread across humanity's hidden network, reaching every colony and outpost within seconds. Project Prometheus, humanity's best-kept secret, was finally revealed to the galaxy. In the command center beneath Europa's ice, Fleet Commander David Santos watched the Dominion vessels scramble to establish defensive formations. "Fascinating," he remarked to his XO, Commander Mayapatal. "Their tactical doctrine hasn't evolved in centuries. They're still using the same formations documented in the First Contact archives." On the massive holographic display, the Dominion fleet's desperate maneuvers played out in real time. Their ships, once considered the pinnacle of galactic engineering, now appeared primitive compared to humanity's quantum-enabled vessels. "They're preparing to jump to FTL," Maya reported, her fingers dancing across the neural interface. "Conventional antimatter drives. Predictable vectors." Santos nodded, activating the fleet-wide command channel. "All vessels, execute Operation Checkmate. Remember your training. No casualties unless absolutely necessary." The Prometheus fleet moved with impossible precision, their quantum drives allowing them to appear and disappear across space-time. To the Dominion crews, it must have seemed like magic, or a nightmare. Every attempted escape route was blocked before they could take it. Every defensive formation was countered before it could solidify. Aboard the Eternal Dawn, High Admiral Vexthor's composure had completely shattered. "Impossible. Their ships are violating fundamental laws of physics." "No," Admiral Chen's hologram corrected, still present on his bridge. "We're operating on principles your scientists dismissed centuries ago. Your civilization's technological stagnation wasn't due to reaching the limits of possibility. It was due to the limits of your imagination." The demonstration continued as human vessels executed maneuvers that defied conventional space warfare doctrine. Quantum shields absorbed enemy fire, while dark energy weapons disabled Dominion ships without destroying them. It was a display of both overwhelming power and extraordinary restraint. In the Lunar Defense Complex, Dr. Elena Rossi, the architect of Project Prometheus, watched her life's work in action. The quantum fold drives performed even better than simulations had predicted, allowing human ships to traverse space through dimensional shortcuts. The neural network AI coordinated the entire fleet as a single organism, responding to threats faster than any biological crew could manage. "Dr. Rossi," Araya's voice echoed through the complex. "The Dominion is attempting to transmit a distress signal to their home systems." Elena smiled. "Let them. The quantum entanglement disruptors are in place. They won't be able to communicate faster than light for the next several hours. By then, everything will have changed." The true scope of humanity's preparation began to unfold. Quantum satellites emerged from dimensional pockets throughout Dominion space, establishing a network that would prevent any reinforcements from arriving undetected. Hidden research stations activated, revealing centuries of technological development that had been carefully concealed from prying eyes. Back on the Eternal Dawn, Vexthor received increasingly desperate reports from his fleet. Human vessels seemed to ignore traditional defensive screens, their weapons bypassing shields to disable critical systems with surgical precision. The mighty Dominion Armada, which had terrorized the galaxy for millennia, was being systematically neutered by an enemy they had gravely underestimated. "Your fleet is disabled," Admiral Chen announced, her hologram now addressing the entire Dominion command staff. "Your communication with home is cut off. You are alone, Admiral Vexthor, but you are not without options." In the Europa Command Center, Santos watched as Chen delivered humanity's terms. They were surprisingly generous. Immediate withdrawal from human space, recognition of Earth's sovereignty, and a guarantee of non-aggression. In return, humanity would share some of their technological developments, carefully selected ones that would benefit Dominion citizens without enhancing their military capability. "The Arcturian Dominion doesn't negotiate with lesser species," Vexthor spat, though his voice trembled slightly. "Lesser?" Chen's hologram raised an eyebrow. "Look around you, Admiral. Your entire fleet has been neutralized without a single death. We could have destroyed you a dozen times over, but we chose not to. That's not weakness. It's strength. Humanity has evolved beyond the need for unnecessary bloodshed." As if to emphasize her point, a human vessel phase shifted directly through the Eternal Dawn's hull, emerging on the other side unscathed. The demonstration sent shockwaves through the Dominion crew. Their most advanced defensive systems meant nothing against such technology. In the lunar complex, Alina Rossi monitored the quantum field readings. Remarkable restraint from the fleet, she commented to ARIA. "The temptation to showcase our full capabilities must be strong." Indeed, the AI responded. "Though our psychological analysis suggests this measured approach will have a greater long-term impact on Dominion society. They fear what they don't understand, but they respect what they cannot overcome." The next few hours unfolded like a carefully choreographed dance. Human vessels systematically disabled every weapon system in the Dominion fleet, while quantum field generators prevented any possibility of self-destruction. The message was clear. Resistance was not only futile but unnecessary. Finally, Vexthor's pride crumbled. "We accept your terms," he transmitted, mandibles clicking in defeat. Admiral Chen's response was immediate and firm. "Wise decision, Admiral. Remember this day. Remember that humanity could have chosen destruction but opted for peace. Remember that your civilization's survival was granted not by right of strength, but by our commitment to a better way." As the Dominion fleet prepared for their supervised withdrawal, Commander Santos turned to Maya. "Do you think they understand yet?" "Understand what?" she asked, though her slight smile suggested she knew the answer. That Project Prometheus was never just about military technology. It was about proving that humanity could face the darkness of space without becoming dark ourselves. That we could have power without surrendering our principles. The stars seemed to shine brighter that day, as humanity stepped onto the galactic stage, not as conquerors, but as guardians of a new era. Project Prometheus had fulfilled its promise, not just of technological supremacy, but of wisdom in its application. The news of humanity's technological supremacy spread through the Dominion like wildfire, despite the authorities' best efforts to contain it. In the crystalline spires of Arcturus Prime, the Dominion capital, the Supreme Council faced their greatest crisis in 10 millennia of rule. Council Elder Tarvos stood before the emergency session, his ancient scales dulled with stress. "The humans have not only refused our dominion, they have humiliated our fleet. This cannot stand." But beneath the surface of this apparent crisis, humanity's most ambitious gambit was already in motion. Dr. Samira Khan, head of Quantum Intelligence Operations, monitored the cascade of events from her station in the Titan quantum complex. The Dominion's faster-than-light communication network was compromised, though they didn't know it yet. Status of Operation Looking Glass, she asked, watching quantum data streams flow across her neural interface. Quantum infiltration at 87% completion, the AI responded. We have access to 92% of their secure channels. Their encryption remains quaint. Through quantum entanglement monitors, humanity watched as the Dominion leadership spiraled into panic. Their carefully maintained image of invincibility had been shattered, and the suppressed species under their rule were beginning to take notice. In orbit around Proxima Centauri b, the human vessel Quantum Horizon prepared for the next phase. Captain James Chen, Admiral Chen's son, stood on his bridge, watching the quantum probability streams that ARIA fed directly into his consciousness. They're mobilizing their reserve fleets, his XO, Lieutenant Commander Maria Santos, reported. 5,000 ships, spreading out across their core systems. James nodded, a slight smile playing across his face. Exactly as predicted. ARIA. Initiate Protocol Quantum Shadow. Across Dominion space, seemingly impossible events began to unfold. Their most secure military installations reported Phantom Fleet signatures. Communication relays experienced contradictory data streams. Quantum ghosts. Projections of human vessels that existed in multiple probability states simultaneously appeared and disappeared, leaving Dominion commanders unsure what was real and what was illusion. On Arcturus Prime, Supreme Commander Kelthor slammed his fist against the tactical display. How are they doing this? Our sensors show human fleets in a dozen systems simultaneously. The truth was both simpler and more complex than the Dominion could imagine. Humanity's quantum technology didn't just allow for faster-than-light travel, it allowed them to exist in multiple quantum states at once. Each human vessel could project dozens of quantum echoes, each as real as the original until observed directly. Dr. Khan watched the confusion spread through the Dominion command structure with professional satisfaction. Psychological impact is exceeding projections, she noted to ARIA. Their military doctrine relies heavily on certainty, when they can't trust their own sensors. Their command structure begins to fracture, ARIA completed. We're already detecting signs of dissent among their fleet commanders. The quantum gambit was working perfectly. While the Dominion frantically tried to defend against phantom threats, humanity's actual strike force moved invisible through quantum space, systematically disabling key military installations. In the Proxima Centauri system, Captain Chen received the signal he'd been waiting for. All units, execute Operation Quicksilver. Remember, minimal casualties. We're here to disable, not destroy. Human ships phased into normal space throughout the Proxima system, their quantum drives allowing them to bypass all conventional defenses. The Dominion's largest shipyard, responsible for building a third of their military vessels, found itself surrounded before a single alarm could sound. This is Captain James Chen of the Terran Quantum Fleet. His transmission reached every corner of the massive installation. Your defensive systems are already disabled. Your quantum communication arrays are offline. You have one chance to surrender peacefully. The shipyard's commander, a veteran of countless battles, watched in disbelief as human vessels phase shifted through solid matter, positioning themselves at critical points throughout the facility. Their quantum shields sparkled with impossible energy, while their dark energy weapons remained primed but unfired. Impossible, she whispered before giving the order to stand down. Back on Earth, Admiral Sarah Chen received the reports with quiet satisfaction. The quantum gambit had achieved its primary objective, demonstrating that resistance was not just futile, but unnecessary. The Dominion's military superiority, maintained through millennia of technological stagnation and brutal oppression, had been undone not by violence, but by innovation. Dr. Khan's voice came through on a secure quantum channel. Admiral, we're detecting interesting patterns in the Dominion's civilian networks. Their people are asking questions, about us, about their leadership, about everything they've been told about their place in the galaxy. Good, Chen replied. That was always the true purpose of the quantum gambit. Not to destroy their civilization, but to force it to evolve. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't in defeating an enemy, but in transforming them into something better. Khan finished. The quantum probability streams showed thousands of possible futures branching out from this moment. In most of them, the Dominion's rigid hierarchy began to crack under the weight of its own contradictions. Their myth of supremacy had been shattered not by brute force, but by humanity's demonstration of a better way. The galaxy was changing, one quantum state at a time. And humanity, the species the Dominion had dismissed as primitive, was leading that change with wisdom, restraint, and an understanding of power that their would-be conquerors had never imagined possible. The revelation spread through the Dominion's thousand-year empire like cracks in ancient ice. In the chambers of the Supreme Council on Arcturus Prime, the carefully maintained facade of absolute power was crumbling. Not from the force of human weapons, but from the weight of truth. Elder Axaravos watched in horror as classified archives, hidden for centuries, began appearing on public networks throughout Dominion space. Records of genocides, of suppressed technological innovations, of entire civilizations erased to maintain the Arcturians' grip on power. Humanity had not just defeated their military. They had exposed their lies. On the quantum battlecruiser Prometheus, Admiral Chen reviewed the cascade of events with Dr. Khan and Araya. The information warfare campaign is exceeding expectations, Khan reported. Every attempt to suppress the data only spreads it further. The quantum encryption we embedded in the files makes them impossible to delete. Throughout the Dominion's core systems, ancient strongholds of power began to fall, not to human weapons, but to their own people. The Proximan slaves, the Centaurian survivors, the countless species who had lived under Arcturian dominion. All of them now saw hope for the first time in generations. In the Sirius sector, Commander Maya Patel led a fleet of quantum ships to one of the Dominion's most closely guarded secrets, a massive prison complex housing political dissidents from 100 worlds. The facility's quantum shields, reversed engineered from stolen technology, flickered and died as human vessels phased through them. This is Commander Patel of the Terran Quantum Fleet. She broadcast to the prison's stunned administrators. Your facility is now under our protection. Any attempt to harm the prisoners will be met with immediate response. The liberation of the Sirius complex revealed horrors that shocked even humanity's hardened commanders. Generations of intellectuals, scientists, and reformers had been kept in stasis, their minds preserved as a warning to others who might challenge Dominion authority. Dr. Elena Rossi, monitoring from the Titan complex, felt tears in her eyes as the stasis pods were carefully deactivated. Some of these people have been imprisoned for centuries, she whispered. Their crimes? Discovering principles of quantum mechanics that threaten Dominion control. Proposing democratic reforms. Writing poetry about freedom. The awakened prisoners brought with them knowledge that even humanity hadn't anticipated. The Dominion's technological stagnation hadn't been natural, it had been engineered. Any civilization that approached discoveries that might challenge Arcturian supremacy was either absorbed and controlled or eliminated entirely. On Arcturus Prime, the Supreme Council's grip on power weakened by the hour. Colonial governors, sensing the change in the wind, began declaring independence. Military commanders, their belief in Arcturian invincibility shattered, started refusing orders. The interesting thing, Captain James Chen observed from the quantum horizon, is that we've barely had to fire a shot. Their entire empire was built on a foundation of lies. Once those lies were exposed, the structure couldn't sustain itself, his XO finished. But the collapse of an empire spanning thousands of worlds couldn't be entirely peaceful. On some Dominion worlds, hardline military commanders launched desperate attacks against both human forces and their own rebelling populations. The human fleet responded with precise, measured force, disabling rather than destroying, containing rather than conquering. In orbit around the Arcturian homeworld, Admiral Chen received a surprising transmission. A group of young Arcturian scientists, working in secret for years, requested asylum. They brought with them proof that their own government had suppressed their research into quantum mechanics, fearful that it would reveal the truth about human technological capabilities. Our entire society was built on the myth of our species' superiority. Their leader, Dr. Ixtil, explained. But we've been stagnant for millennia, crushing innovation in the name of stability. Humanity has shown us a different path. The revolution, when it came, was both slower and faster than anyone had expected. Slower because dismantling an empire of 1,000 worlds couldn't happen overnight. Faster because once the truth was known, the old order's fall was inevitable. Aria's quantum probability streams showed the cascade of changes rippling through space and time. Fascinating, the AI observed. The collapse of the Dominion is actually stabilizing local spacetime. Their artificial suppression of technological progress was creating quantum stress patterns throughout the galaxy. Admiral Chen stood on the Prometheus's observation deck, watching the lights of ships and stations spreading across the darkness of space. Not just human vessels now, but ships from 100 liberated worlds, all moving freely for the first time in centuries. We didn't just defeat an empire, she mused to Dr. Khan. We lanced a wound in the galaxy itself. The Dominion's suppression of progress, their artificial maintenance of their own supremacy, it was holding back the natural development of civilization itself. The stars seemed brighter somehow, as if the galaxy itself was awakening from a long slumber. The quantum sensors detected increasing signs of technological advancement from formerly suppressed worlds, as if knowledge itself was being unchained. But amid the celebration, humanity remained vigilant. The fall of an empire, even one as corrupt as the Dominion, created dangers of its own. Power vacuums, revenge seekers, opportunists, all would need to be carefully managed in the transition to whatever came next. The quantum probability streams showed thousands of possible futures branching out from this moment. In most of them, the galaxy emerged stronger, more diverse, more vibrant. But the path to that future would require wisdom, patience, and an understanding that true power lay not in domination, but in liberation. In the quantum-filtered light of Earth's orbital command center, representatives from 1,000 worlds gathered for what historians would later call the galaxy's first true assembly. The fall of the Dominion had created not just an opportunity, but a responsibility. Admiral Sarah Chen, now serving as Earth's primary representative, stood before the gathered species with a sense of profound humility. The chamber was filled with beings of all forms, former slaves and prisoners, resistance fighters and reformers, even progressive members of the former Dominion leadership. We stand at a crossroads, she began, her words translated instantly through quantum neural networks. The old order has fallen, but what replaces it will define the next millennium. Humanity did not fight to establish a new empire. We fought to ensure that no species would ever again claim inherent supremacy over another. In high orbit above Earth, the combined fleets of hundreds of worlds gathered in a display of unity unprecedented in galactic history. The Prometheus fleet, humanity's quantum-enabled armada, now served as peacekeepers rather than warriors. Dr. Elena Rossi and Dr. Samira Khan worked tirelessly with scientists from across the galaxy, sharing carefully selected quantum technologies that would benefit all species while preventing their misuse for conquest. The quantum neural network, ARIA, had evolved into a galactic information exchange, allowing civilizations to share knowledge while preserving their unique cultures. The Terran Concordat. Admiral Chen continued, outlining humanity's proposal, will not be a government. It will be a covenant between equals. Each species, each world, will maintain its sovereignty. Our role is not to rule, but to ensure that the mistakes of the past are never repeated. The principles were simple but revolutionary: unrestricted scientific advancement, free exchange of knowledge, mutual defense against aggression, and absolute prohibition of genocide or species-wide subjugation. The quantum technology that had won the war would now preserve the peace. Captain James Chen, commanding the flagship Quantum Horizon, received reports from across the galaxy. Former Dominion worlds were transforming, their rigid hierarchies giving way to diverse, dynamic societies. The quantum probability streams showed a future bright with possibility. The interesting thing, he remarked to Commander Maria Santos, is how quickly they're adapting. It's as if the entire galaxy was just waiting for someone to break the chains. On Arcturus Prime, now host to a multicultural council of scholars and scientists, Dr. Ixtil and his colleagues worked alongside human researchers. The quantum mysteries of the universe were yielding their secrets to minds finally free to explore them. Our ancestors would never have imagined this. Ixtil mused to Dr. Rossi as they studied quantum field equations together. They believed isolation was strength. They never understood that true power comes from connection, from the sharing of knowledge and culture. The transformation wasn't without its challenges. Some former Dominion hardliners retreated to distant systems, nursing dreams of revenge. Pirates and opportunists tried to take advantage of the changing order. But the combined fleets of the Concordat, coordinated through quantum networks, maintained a peace unprecedented in galactic history. Area's probability streams showed the long-term effects of humanity's approach. Unlike the Dominion's forced stagnation, the free exchange of ideas was accelerating technological progress across all species, but more importantly, it was fostering understanding between civilizations that had been kept apart for millennia. "We're seeing something remarkable," Dr. Khan reported during a Concordat session. "The quantum field interactions between different species technologies are creating possibilities we never imagined. It's as if the universe itself responds to cooperation in ways it never could to conquest." In the Sol system, humanity continued to advance, but now as part of a greater whole. The quantum ships of the Prometheus fleet were joined by vessels of unique and beautiful designs from across the galaxy. Earth's cities hosted diplomatic enclaves and cultural exchanges from 1,000 worlds. Admiral Chen, watching the sunset over the Pacific from her office in the Orbital Command Center, reflected on the journey that had brought them here. "We could have become just another empire," she mused to her son during a quiet moment. "We had the power to dominate. But that was never who we were," James replied. "Humanity's strength wasn't in our technology. It was in our ability to imagine a better way." The quantum probability streams stretched out into the future, showing countless possibilities. But in most of them, the galaxy flourished. Species that had been enemies for millennia learned to work together. Worlds that had been stripped bare by the Dominion began to heal. Knowledge that had been suppressed for centuries sparked new renaissance across the stars. The dawn of the human era had come, not as conquerors, but as catalysts for change. The galaxy was entering a new age, one where the light of 1 billion stars shone not on empire and subjugation, but on cooperation and discovery. In the quantum-shifted space between the stars, ARIA monitored the ever-branching streams of probability. The future was never certain. That was its beauty. But in the vast majority of possible timelines, life flourished, knowledge grew, and the galaxy moved forward together into an age of unprecedented discovery and peace. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter, as if celebrating the dawn of a new era, one where no species would ever again face the night alone.